this episode, the guest and I will help you master your physique. With combined 12 years of one-to-one coaching experience and tens of thousands of check-ins and clients help, we know exactly what works in real life. It doesn't matter where you're starting right now with your body, we will break down exactly what you need to do to look your best, lose body fat, gain muscle, and transform your body. While others just give you the theory and tips and tricks, we're going to break it down in detail for you. This is the 2026 Transformation Masterclass. All right, so welcome to the episode and welcome as well, Ramon. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you very much.
Awesome. Ramon is a two-time world champion in bodybuilding, a really good friend of mine as well, and he's an expert on all things gaining muscle, losing fat, transforming your physique, and he himself has coached a lot of people over the last years, and I wanted to get him on because obviously we're really good friends and we've also been working together, which I'm going to share later on. But I'm really fascinated by your story because what you have shared before is that obviously you've had this bodybuilding part of your life where you did win 2 world championships, which is incredible, by the way, and then you had to face this moment where you ask yourself, do I continue down this path? Do I continue maximizing my physique, getting even bigger and getting even further ahead? And you did 3 seasons of bodybuilding, right?
Yes.
And you then decided or asked yourself, is it going to be worth it for me to spend the next 2 years, which I found really interesting, you can also comment on it, to spend the next 2 years building 1 more pound of muscle mass to maybe go even further in competitions? And then you had a kind of mindset shift there. So I love that story. And I want to ask you, just to get started before we go right into things, what made you kind of decide against those, going deeper and spending another 2 years building 1 pound of muscle to go further?
Yes, first of all, very happy to be here. I mean, if you're bodybuilding at this level, you are like optimizing your whole life just to gain these few pounds further. Like, you're training 5-6 times a week, you are sleeping perfectly, and we're always talking about optimization, and I think for most people it's really not that needed, but if you're at that level, like, these small percentages, they do matter. And if you're ambitious and you have the knowledge, you're aware of the fact that you need to have these inputs to get that output. Mm-hmm. And that just didn't feel right for me anymore. Like, that passion for bodybuilding as well just faded away a bit. And I had that feeling of, it feels very easy and I don't really know why I'm doing it anymore. And I didn't feel that fire in me. Because if you're doing bodybuilding at that level, mm-hmm. especially naturally, you will not like be an IFB pro and get thousands of dollars for winning championships, but you need to do that from an internal drive. Mm-hmm. And that internal drive was just gone for me. And mm-hmm. I asked myself, is that trade-off really worth it? But that was a hard process because mm-hmm. if you're an athlete, your identity is tied to being perfect, to progressing. So I had to really iterate my identity, to be honest. That was a pretty harsh moment for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that, especially if you are fully committed for years and years mm-hmm. and your whole life evolves around it, which is a beautiful thing. I think that's why you have gone this far with mm-hmm. your body, with mm-hmm. your business. And I think it's helpful to have these seasons of, hey, I'm just focusing on this one thing and making it my number one thing mm-hmm. to crush it in life. But yeah, I think just to remember back how we actually met, or how like the first time I got to see you as a coach and as an inspiration was actually like, obviously we met before, but my birthday was kind of the first time where we mm-hmm. Spent a bit more time together. And I still remember you just out of the, just as this fully relaxed state, you asked me, hey, why don't we work together? Why don't we push your physique to the next level? And usually I'm a coach myself, I coach clients, and there's maybe some ego involved mm-hmm. too, where I would say I don't need help, or I know what to do. But for some reason, and I think I want to get into that later as well, I think the way you are and the way you coach and the way you talk with people and relate to people, it felt very much like, okay, wow, like this is motivating. Like he sees something in me, maybe I don't see. That's why we went on this journey as well together, which I'm going to share later. But I thought about, why don't we start this episode to really give the listener the most value possible mm-hmm. with breaking down different types of physiques: skinny fat, overweight, and skinny, which is usually the three categories most people probably fall into, and break down each one into, okay, what is the starting position? What would you need to do to be successful and have a lean and fit physique? And then also maybe common fallacies and mistakes and habits you have seen. Obviously, you coaching so many people as well. So let's start with a skinny fat body, which is near and dear to my heart because I've been there many times, and not because I wanted to, which is the crazy part about having a skinny fat body. Usually, you just end up there. You didn't go completely overboard, so you have 30, 40, 50 pounds to lose, but you also are not skinny. Like, it's really this weird position in the middle. But maybe you can share, maybe firstly define what is actually a skinny fat body. How would you describe it, and what's kind of the starting position and the issues?
Yes, I think it's a pretty hard position to be in, because if you're overweight or you're skinny, it's pretty clear what path you should go down to. And I think that's why it's talked about so much online, and people are like stuck. What should I do? And how do you define skinny fat? I think there is no like clear definition out there, but in the end you are overfed, which means you have too high body fat and you're under-muscled. So you have the worst of both worlds, but it's not that bad that it's clear what you should do. So probably you're around 20-25% body fat. So in a shirt you could look kind of normal, and you are pretty under-muscled, but maybe you've been training, and I would say that's like the starting position for most people. When you take off your shirt, you don't feel confident. When you look in the mirror, you have like a bit of belly fat, maybe some cheeseburger tits, if you want to call it like that.
First time I hear that.
Yes, and as a man, it's just not a cool position to be in. Like you feel soft, you don't feel strong, and I think that's where most people start. And I mean, I had a lot of people in that position and helped them get out of it. And I think it's like you need to just solve that once and for all. And like you said, you don't end up in that position for no reason. So that's where I would start the transformation. Like, what's the reason why you ended up there? And I would there have two different like archetypes. The first one is just you let yourself go the last few months. Like, you just have bad habits and you know it, and we just need to fix them. Like, your eating is not on the money. You have been like maybe going out more, you have enjoyed yourself, and it's a pretty clear fix. But for a lot of people who are skinny fat, they are actually like training, they are not eating that bad, but they are still not progressing. And that's why I am always looking at three key systems there, which I observe. And I mean, we are coaches, we are not no doctors. I would just look at the fundamentals there. So I would say the three key systems there are metabolic health. Like, maybe just get your glucose tested. Maybe your insulin sensitivity is not good. So I would check that. I would check digestion, just a gut questionnaire, like, do you have digestion issues? And then the last one is like your stress axis. So stress, digestion, and metabolic health. Most of the time, one of these are broken if you are skinny fat. And so if you're just listening to the conventional advice, you're probably not going to end up in a good position. So I would look at these systems. So in terms of what do I mean with stress system, most of the time, do you have like bad sleep? Do you have a very stressful life? Or maybe also some emotional stress. Maybe you're just not doing very well the last few years or few months. And I would look at that. And from there, I would start a transformation.
Okay, amazing. So you have found that with the people you've worked, that the answer isn't as simple as, just cut or bulk. Like, yes. What do you think about that? Like, should they cut or bulk?
I have a very clear opinion on that. I mean, there are the two options, and I think one of them is probably not the right one. Maybe it is for some people, but bulking is not really the right option in that moment. I know online a lot of people say you need to build the muscle first and then cut. I'm not a big fan of that, because if you are skinny fat, you're not feeling great about yourself. If you look in the mirror, you're feeling uncomfortable. So if you're now starting to bulk, you will gain fat first and you will feel more uncomfortable. And I think as a coach, I think one of the biggest leverages is to create a positive reinforcement loop, like seeing yourself win. And if you bulk, you will, first of all, it will suck for 6 months, for a year maybe, and then you have that big reward somewhere in the future. And I don't think that's the right option. So what I like to do is to cut first, or let's call it a recomposition or cut, just a small deficit. So you see yourself changing, but you're not like in a deficit or in a big deficit, because there with that you can't build muscle very well. So we have these two conflicting goals. We are overfed, under-muscled. So I think that's the perfect trade-off, to cut. To make that practical, I would lose around 0.5 to 1% body weight, more like 0.5 per week, and train hard in the gym. Yes.
I like it. Yeah, if you increase your deficit too much, if you're skinny fat, then you end up looking skinny, and like you say, you will not have strength in the gym, so you can't build muscle. So like you say, like you have two goals here: building muscle, losing fat. And to build muscle, you need carbs, you need food, and protein, of course, as well. So totally agree. And so what do you think about like main gaining or maintenance calories for a prolonged period of time? Because the issues are at hand, obviously. Like, are you able to hit maintenance in the first place? That's like the first thing you got to figure out. You got to be super accurate all the time. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, instead of doing a cut first?
I think it's just a very long and boring process then, and you don't have that reinforcement loop. If you cut, you will be faster in a good position. You're probably around 20-25%, and if you are around 12-15%, then you can then start a bulking phase. So you have that phase between 25 to 15%. It's just a lot faster, and then you can be more productive with more food afterwards because you feel good about yourself. So I think that's honestly, I don't think there are a lot of ways to do it. That's exactly how I do it all the time, and it works very, very well. Yes. It's a nuanced answer, I know, but it's still very clear, a clear path to take.
It's for sure clear, and I fully agree. And it doesn't have to take that long. It depends how skinny fat a person is. There's different levels. We just recently had a client that in 8 weeks went from skinny fat to Chad, basically. Like he has like 8-pack now, and I was surprised myself that that's possible. But sometimes it's just 8 to 16 weeks, which is still like some time to get that first stage phase completed.
And I think if you went past that stage, you like did it forever. Like that's what you always say. It takes like 16 weeks to change your life. And if you go past that stage, you achieve these 12-15%, you fix these underlying issues, you fix your sleep, you fix your digestion. If you're dieting, you're getting more insulin sensitive. So you fix all these issues with good interventions, with exactly the process we have at hand. So you drop the inflammation, you drop body fat, you build muscle, and 16 weeks later, you just are looking amazing or feeling amazing. And then you fixed it. And then from there, or you can take it wherever you want it.
That's also what happened for me. Like working with you took around 4 months to get out of that inflamed state, skinny fat state. And it was work. Like, it wasn't like just cakewalk. Definitely, it was a lot of work. But now, like you say, I have like a runway of, okay, what do I want to do with my physique? And it's a good place to be in.
Yes, maybe some additional tips there. I think for skinny fat guys, doing some zone 2 cardio to increase mitochondria health always helps. If you feel like you had a past with digestion issue, I think eating some more fats and less carbs also helps. So these are maybe some practical advice I have. And in the gym,
let's talk about training. How would you approach training? Obviously, it depends if it's a beginner, if it's an intermediate. But most skinny fat people, what I found is they're already training, so they're not complete beginners. So how would you approach that? Obviously, it's very customized, but
I mean, in terms of training, we just need to hit these fundamental boxes. What I found with skinny fat people, we are talking about skinny fat people like they are some kind of
no, definitely not.
They are not, but like what I saw most of the time, they are pretty frustrated and they're just going through the motion in the gym. So what I found there is like upping the training intensity and just having clarity, because like mentally, for these people, most of the time they are pretty insecure about what they are doing because they had so many times where it was not working out. So they are always changing and they are not training hard enough. So what I just do is get clarity there, get 4 sessions a week, 3 to 4 training sessions a week, training very hard, learning the basic movements, and that's most of the time enough.
Nice. Yeah, what I found over the years with clients who have this kind of physique, and again, definitely agree, we're not like judging anyone, like I was there myself.
Yes.
It's just like the way to describe the kind of physique. And what I found as well over the years is that there's, for some reason, an affinity or, an obsession with cardio. Like we talked about, cardio is good, but they do cardio maybe in group classes or high intensity cardio and not enough strength training. And unfortunately, especially in group classes, people attend group classes sometimes for years and nothing changes.
Yes.
Because it's not customized. There's no progressive overload most of the time. And I also went through some Pilates like recently, like it's been like a couple of months ago. And although I was sweating a lot and I was struggling to maintain all the balance, like I didn't burn that much calories, I think, and it didn't really exercise my muscle much. Obviously, I also have a high amount of muscle mass, but I think there's some group classes or like trends where, you sweat a lot and it feels very hard, but then it doesn't do anything for your physique, which I think a lot of people are stuck into. But I agree that zone 2 cardio is a game changer for sure for skinny fat physique.
And like you said, they are most of the time inclined to do too much. And like I said, that inflamed, stressed look, sometimes it's about doing less and getting more intentional with what you're actually doing. Like I said, getting 4 clear strength training sessions in with a clear structure and trying to progress that.
Amazing. Also, I found, or let me know your thoughts on that, but usually there's also a vivid kind of social life, a very active social life for a lot of people in this kind of physique, which, they want to go out with friends, they want to have some restaurant food, they want to have a drink or two. I also found that's very much present there. So how do you navigate that? Like, what's your opinion on that? Do you combine both? Do you say, let's commit first and then let's add it in later, or what's your opinion on that?
Yes, I mean, I always start with a few weeks where we really lock in. And if they ask me, can I have a meal out? I always have to answer like, your last 2 years were a meal out. We will manage without one for a few weeks. Because I think, like with everything, you need to prove to yourself that you can do it without it. And then you can consciously incorporate it again. And I think that is very well possible to have a social life and still achieve good results. I mean, we saw it with you. You had a pretty vivid social life over the past months.
Yeah.
I mean, we are consciously choosing flexibility, not just just enjoying ourselves completely. But I think it's possible to incorporate that if you understand macronutrients and you have the right frameworks. I always like to work with like a default meal plan, which means for a normal Monday, they exactly know what to eat. So we just reduce decision fatigue completely. But then I call that like the tier system. If we are flexible, we move into tier 2, which means we're just trying to hit the proteins, calories in a range we decide on and be social. But we are we try to do that once a week or every 2 weeks to just incorporate that, because I think we are humans, we need connection, we need social things. But you need to be aware, like if you're executing a transformation, it's time to lock it in. And if it doesn't work for you and you're always getting off plan, losing control, it's time to cut that noise for a few months.
Yes, I like that. I fully agree as well. And also, once you commit yourself and you start tracking your food, you start being more aware, you also realize the trade-offs that you're making. For me as well, like later on in the diet, I still wanted to go up, but then I realized, okay, 1 drink is going to be like 200 calories. And is that going to be a good decision for my journey? Probably not. And at the same time, I still fit it in sometimes, and it still works. But I think it creates more awareness, which is awesome.
And like, you are more inaccurate if you're not in your routine, and if you're doing it too much, it just shows in your results. Like it's you need to manage that well.
I'm curious, how is the impact of, let's say, having a drink on weight fluctuation? Because when it comes to transformation, tracking your body weight obviously is crucial, and it's kind of one of the inputs that we would need as coaches. Have you seen, by the way, the memes recently of a coach like having his eyes covered and like going on a laptop, and then the tag says, me trying to do check-ins when the client doesn't provide any data.
Yes.
It's like closed eyes.
Yes. I saw that. Yes. So, I mean, that's another reason. It's just pretty demotivating if you go off plan, especially like, what do you do if you are social? You're probably eating different food sources you're not used to, which has an impact on your digestion. You're eating more sodium, more salt, which makes your weight fluctuate. You're drinking alcohol. With alcohol, I think most of the time the next day you are lighter because you're dehydrated, which is a bad reinforcement loop in my opinion. But then the second day you're heavier because your body pulls back all the water. So that's my experience I made with alcohol.
And what if you just keep having a drink?
I mean, I never tested that. Maybe that's the cheat code.
Yeah, that's a loophole.
Yes, but then you're constantly dehydrated, which is also not,
of course,
not very good.
But that's the value of having a coach, I think, and having those data check-ins where you realize, okay, tomorrow is check-in time, and they will look at the data. So I want to have accurate data. So let's say you have bought a program or you are in a journey, and then you provide inaccurate data, then it's kind of defeating the purpose almost. So that's another reinforcement loop of being accountable to yourself, which is nice. I found that for myself. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think just to add on the kind of the skinny fat physique, how to master it, I think we covered a lot of the most important things. I also found just as a mindset thing, or I've observed a lot of the time in this kind of situation, people have not enough urgency almost because they're not, with a shirt on, they maybe look like, I don't know, BNI, which is obviously fine. You don't need to be like walking around super ripped and shredded all year. It's obviously up to you. What do you want to achieve? But that's, I think, the point where, I'm doing all right. Like, I'm doing fine. So do you think that the visceral fat argument, which I've seen online, I've also talked about, would you underline that? You got to lose the belly fat as a skinny fat person because of the visceral fat around your organs, which is obviously going to be unhealthy for you long term. Would you agree with that statement, or how do we create more urgency for this kind of physique?
I mean, I think the visceral fat topic is pretty individual. How much you accumulate, and also like that really comes down to your metabolic health again. You can be, like you said, looking pretty normal and you're extremely metabolically unhealthy. And I mean, being metabolically unhealthy, you will just probably die earlier. So that's a pretty good argument to start now, in my opinion. And like, I think if you are on the other side, imagine yourself being on the other side and having that good body and looking in the mirror. If you are in that position, you find the skinny fat look pretty, you will have urgency if you saw the other side. So if you imagine your version 4 months down the line and knowing where you could be, I think that creates some urgency. And I remember you talking about it, like, if you have a good body, if you have a healthy body, because most of the time, like, you see skinny fat not only in their belly fat, but in their skin, maybe some skin rashes, maybe some inflammation in the face, and you just don't look as vibrant as you could look. And like you said, every day you're not in that body is kind of wasted. You said that to me once. Maybe you're meeting the love of your life and she is not seeing you in a way she could see you, or so many opportunities could pass if you're not executing on that. Yes, so I understand why people could get comfortable, but if you really think about it and let that feeling closer to you, I think the urgency comes.
Nice. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think I had this exact moment last year where I was going through a lot of kind of struggles and had like an inflamed body and low energy and skinny fat. And, I met like a person that I thought would be like my dream person. Obviously, like maybe it was like just projection at times, but I was not in a position either physically or mentally. And again, you can make the argument of, oh, like you don't have to be like, again, fully ripped to meet your person. But I was like, wow, like I'm not at my full potential. We still like connected and stuff, but I just didn't feel like myself. That's the main thing. And if you don't feel like yourself, then you can still meet people 100%, but then are you going to meet your person that's going to relate to you on a deeper level?
Especially, I think people who are listening to this podcast are ambitious. So being skinny fat probably doesn't reflect their ambitions they have with their physique or their bodies. Otherwise, they would not listen to a podcast like this.
Exactly. Okay, awesome. Love that. So let's go over the other two, maybe also a bit quicker. But let's say someone has a lot of, let's say, 30 plus pounds. Maybe you can cut off there. I found usually for skinny fat transformations around 20, 25 pounds. In pounds, in kilos, it's like 10 kilos. So the moment we go beyond that, we would look at more weight loss. So how would you approach that? Let's say someone wants to lose 30 plus pounds and doesn't want to go inject, pea tides. I don't think I can say the word. I think it'll get flagged on social media. So let's just say tides. Let's say they want to do it naturally with training, nutrition. How would you approach that compared to maybe?
Yes, I think here again we need to look at which situation we are in. We are clearly overfed in that position. Then the question arises, like, are we also under-muscled? Which is in most cases is true, but there are also some people who probably have a good amount of muscle mass, and there I would really look at the experience level of the person. Is that someone who has been in that position for their whole life? Or is that something that was accumulated over a few years? Or was that maybe a mistake they made with letting themselves go or doing a bulk or trying to bulk and ending up? So these are very different starting positions. But what I observed with working with people who are higher up in the body fat ranges is that there is more like emotional eating, more shame, and more stress involved, and also like mental models involved when it comes to weight loss. So my coaching approach there is more compassionate and more coaching than just having like these data expectations like you might have with someone who is committed but skinny fat but was just not able to solve the puzzle. So I would like there try to install habits and consistency. That's like the main goal. So I would probably start with someone just with the nutrition in the first week and steps, like just track your nutrition. Let's install 3 meals every single day. Let's do 6,000 steps, 8,000 steps. In week 2, let's introduce strength training to create again this reinforcement loop of being able to stick to something. And I think that's a very, very important part. And also as a coach, I don't expect everything to be perfect from the beginning and the adherence to be perfect from the beginning, and communicate that as well if something happens, that's part of the journey. So I think there it's very important to like create the habits that bring you the physique you want as a consequence of your habits, and not just thinking about what deficit do I need to install, what data points do I need to have, but really building the foundation of habits that make you a fit person. I think that's more of the approach I follow with especially people who have been there for a long time, because people don't like to be there. They don't want to be there most of the time. So there is shame, there is emotional eating. And what I also observed is in a lot of position or in a lot of people, they're actually underfeeding themselves and having like these binge cycles. So most of the people are most of the time eating not enough through their days, or they are not eating enough through the morning or the midday, and then they are just eating a lot on the weekend or in the evening. So it's like they don't have, like I said, these routines in place. So really observing the situations, what are the mistakes, installing 3 meals that fuel yourself up, that you like, that you can incorporate, and then increasing the speed. If you have, like, going from chaos to control, I always say that's the first week. Like the first process in my coaching is the min-max weeks, like collecting the lowest hanging fruits, going from chaos to control of the most important things. And I think that's important if you're overweight, not trying to be perfect from day one and doing everything, but doing the important things right.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, totally agree. I think also creating a safe space for them where they know, okay, like I'm here to be coached, but I'm not going to be judged. I can come to the coach, which sounds simple, straightforward, but some people disappear even, right? And they don't reply, or they feel bad for asking for help, or for not having done the weigh-ins or the check-ins. And like you said, compassionate approach here and creating just clarity, because I think a lot of people are also overwhelmed in this stage from, do I do keto, juiced cleansing, vegan, carnivore, like which solution should I pick? And then for most of us, obviously we have our approaches and our philosophies, but for both of us, I think the approach is truly like working with a person, and there's not necessarily a one size fits all. It's customized, and I think if they're ready to receive that and ready to get help, then the overwhelm will fall away, and then the beating themselves up for not being on track, I think, is really a coaching process where for you, what I've seen in your practice as well, is that you're really good at relating to people. And for me, maybe the approach is different than to another person, and I can feel that. And I think that's what makes really good coaching.
Yes, 100%. And I think one of the big issues I see people who are overweight walking into, and I think that's like big online, if we get very practical now, is they always hear like, I should eat high volume food. I should eat high volume food, I should eat salads, I should eat a lot of greens, etc. And I think that's valid, that's good, but most of the people who are overweight, their gut health is pretty wrecked. So what I experience, or with what I made great experiences, is actually keeping food volume pretty low in the beginning, because that just makes their digestion very good and fast, and they feel very, very good on it. Like that's maybe a hack I found with these people, like having higher fat meals as well in there, not just eating fiber and just fruits and veggies all the time. High protein, higher fat, and lower carbs seems to work really, really good for people who have been overweight, because, like I said, their gut health most of the time is pretty wrecked if you have been, because you ended up in that position for some reason, and it wasn't probably because you ate so much good food.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. So that's actually incredible. That's something that's super valuable, because I think most people would go for all the salads and all the vegetables and think.
Yes, and I think there is a place to do that. But what I experienced, most of the hunger people feel is conditional or emotional, or they're just used to eating more. And if you get a good routine in, if you eat more protein, if you eat more regularly, and you break these habits, it actually works very well, because your body actually is in a state where it has a lot of energy. So you shouldn't have these hunger cues so much, and your body is able to get energy from your body fat.
Amazing. That's also the reason why it's okay to lose maybe 1% of your body weight per week,
or even more,
right?
or even more. Yes. I mean, if people want a range, if you want to be fast, if you like multiply your body weight, your pounds per 5 to 7, factor 5 to 7, most of the time you get a pretty good range to start your dieting phase with. Okay.
Let's say someone weighs 250 pounds. Like, obviously there's a lot of different things that fall into that, but maybe just
5,
as an example.
Like if you if you're very overweight, I think this one works better. But like 5 to 7 is very, very, very aggressive. But like 7 would be 1,500 calories, which would be aggressive. If you want to be a bit more moderate, 7 to 13 is probably the better range.
Nice. I like that. Yeah, because when you have more fat, like you said, your body can feed off of that, and you don't lose much muscle, muscle in the process.
But in such a scenario, I would really recommend working with someone who knows what he's doing to like get the supplementation right, to manage
crucial.
You and your emotions, because if you like see that if you eat so little calories, you're like compensating after these binge cycles, you need to readjust. Like I know it's cool to hear like clear numbers, but on the other hand,
to get it out of you.
It's not that cool to have clear numbers, because it can also lead to failure. Yes.
Which, let me ask that, because you obviously have a bodybuilding background where calories go super low over time. So how do you manage nutrients? Do you have to supplement a lot more as you get leaner and drop your calories? Or do you feel like it's pretty stable? Or can it be done with whole foods? Because if you are, maybe people don't want to do a prep, but as you get leaner, obviously you got to hit certain macronutrients, but you also need to try to hit all your micronutrients too.
Yes. I mean, as a man, I think in most cases, especially as a bodybuilder, you have enough calories available if you are smart about it to hit your micronutrient targets as well with supplementation. So eating your healthy fats, like eating your veggies. So you shouldn't be carried away with like just following your taste and rewarding yourself with
if it fits your macros.
If it fits your macros. So that's a blueprint for failure.
What do you mean? I can fit in a whole pizza.
Yes. And then drink 2 protein shakes. Yes. No, but I most of the time increase supplementation slightly and get in a multivitamin, a good one, if you are in further down in a prep.
And would you say there's a limit of how low you would go in terms of calories for men and women? Again, it's very custom tailored. Someone that's not as like tall maybe has less calories to play with, but like 1,500 calories for us, for example, like with our clients, especially with female clients, we try to keep it like the lowest I would go is 1,500, and then I would have other strategies to make up for it. Do you have any range there, or obviously it's very customized, but
yes, I mean there is some clear evidence on relative energy deficiency syndrome, especially on females. So that range was for males, by the way, who are very overweight. So for females, that's a very important disclaimer. For females, I don't have the numbers in mind at the moment, but there are some clear numbers that if you are below them, you will get relative energy deficiency syndromes, even though you don't have very low body fat. I don't think that applies as much for people who have a lot of body fat. So we need to be conscious there. For men, to be honest, if you're in a prep scenario, there is no too low. And also for women in a prep scenario, there is no too low. But we need to be aware of the fact that it's just not healthy. Like that's an extreme sport, and it's not about optimizing your health. It's about getting lean. And the costs are the costs. That's also, by the way, one of the big reasons why I stopped competing. Because like after my last prep, it was 8 months, and I was very, very lean, and it took me 6 to 8 months to recover from it, and I felt like garbage.
How did you feel like what did your day look like?
Like
how did
my hairs were getting thinner. That really fucked with me. But also like my body, I had like exactly, I was going into the direction of a skinny fat body. Like I was accumulating a lot of body fat in the midsection. And there again, being skinny fat is not just eating behaviors, it's also how your hormones work and all these things. Like that was worse. I was feeling lower confidence. I had brain fog a lot of the time. I was just not, my performance in the gym and in daily life was just not as good as it was normally. I was not recovering. Like it was crazy. I was just doing 2 sets of chest or 2 sets of back.
Really?
and I had to take 5 days off, and I was sore all the time, and my body felt like it was wrecked. Like that's, and it took me a long time to get out of that, and I can say now I'm in the best position ever, and I just feel amazing. I look good, and that's what I want to maintain. That's what I call a healthy lifestyle, and that's why I stopped competing as well. The cost is just extremely high. Like you have 8 months of doing a competition, and I mean I like that, to be honest. If it would just be that, maybe I would do it. Like I like that grind, like going on stage, having these hard sessions. I would not mind that, but after that, having 6 months, after you went through all of that, you think like you're enjoying your social life again. You have low libido afterwards still, and like you think you enjoy your life afterwards, and then it just sucks for 6 to 8 months after it, with not having like the benefits of looking amazing, but you look like shit. You feel like shit. That's
you have like this period of like 1 month where you look amazing, but then the 8 months before you're working towards it, so you're depleted, and then the rebound is
yes, and you look your worst always after the competition. You look your absolute worst because your body's in a bad state, and I think that again shows the point, like optimizing your health and having a good foundation in terms of your body is the way to achieve a good body. Like for sure, you can do things that go in both ways, but if you have a healthy body, transforming your body is very easy.
Amazing. And how did it feel, especially for like the ambitious person that's listening? How did it feel for you? How did you deal with like reaching that goal and then the emptiness after? Like were you able to navigate that? Maybe for someone that has reached a financial goal in their life or just has hit a milestone, and then now, that's kind of gone or that's achieved. So you topped the mountain maybe. Like what do you do?
Yes, I mean,
how do you deal with that?
Probably there's a healthy way to deal with it and a less healthy way. And I did both of them. So I think the less healthy way is just to set a new goal and just execute straight away afterwards towards the new goal. I did that in 2021. I was just going off stage, and coming off stage the second after it was clear for me I'm coming again and I want to be better. And I didn't really feel that hole at all because I was just committed to the next goal. I think that's the pretty unhealthy way.
You just jumped over the hole, basically.
But on the other hand, I did not feel any reward of it. I won a world championship title. I went back to work when I came home, and like I didn't feel any difference or being proud or any of that. And I think the healthy way is just to accept that you will feel that dip. It's not possible. It's just part of it. Like it's part of feeling all the emotions in life. Just to have that moment where the intensity of your life just decreases slightly, and you need to reorient and just sit with it and be fine. I think that's there. For me, there was always that small hole afterwards. Only in 2021 it wasn't, but I didn't think that was the right option to deal with it.
I like that. I think not resisting it, just that's my main approach as well to certain challenges in life, like trying not to resist it and trying to go with what life gives you as a challenge. Obviously this one is a self-inflicted one, I guess, but definitely I'm also someone that wants to keep pushing, but I think having that moment of rest and reflection. I also found just in general in life, like working, like even like the week and the weekend, like that also used to work 7 days a week, and I still like to do that. But like having a cycle of pushing and then having some rest. For example, recently what I've done is like 6 weeks of really focused work, focused, training, everything, and then maybe 2 to 5 days off, like obviously still doing some things, but more relaxed. And then another 6 weeks, I found that's a good cycle to work. And also with deloads and all that, of course.
I think with everything, it's the smartest approach. Like you have on seasons and you have off seasons in every area of life. And if you don't do that, it just won't work. And I really had to go deep into physiology and biology to understand it, because like if you're listening online, it's just always you need to work harder, you need to do more, you need to push harder. but it doesn't work out. Like the equation doesn't work. If you push hard, you need to recover hard. Otherwise, you will push hard, and at some point you will have diminishing returns, and then you are in the worst position ever because you're pushing hard, but you're not getting the maximum return on investment because you're already on the other side of the bell curve, and you're inflicting so much pain on yourself without getting maximum reward from it. So I think in every area should be on and off season. Yes.
Nice. Amazing. Then let's go over a skinny physique. My original starting position. So I was 75 kilos at 190 centimeters. So now I'm, between 85 to 90 kilos and put on a lot of muscle over the years. But how would you approach that in terms of someone who wants to gain more weight, gain more muscle, in terms of transformation?
Yes. So I will start again from the coaching perspective. What I always have in mind if someone comes who is skinny. So I always assume that they are over-reporting their calories and under-reporting their activity, because otherwise they would not be skinny. Like it is an equation, it's math, they need to eat more. And everything you do in the coaching is about creating a routine to eat more, like the opposite one with eating less with the obese person. And a lot of times I also experience that there are some mental blockers of like having fear to gain weight, maybe in the past being overweight and now being skinny and being afraid to like bulk, and just again going into these mental blockers of why they are in the position. But for some people it's also just their genetics and their habits that lead them there. Like I had just recently a new guy coming into the coaching who's like 180 and like 60 kgs, and like we went through everything. Do you have a past with eating disorders? Do you like da? And it was nothing. He just doesn't have a hunger cue. He's just not hungry. Like if he doesn't like eat on the clock, he is just ending up being skinny because he doesn't eat. And so if life gets stressful, or if he is traveling around, he just doesn't eat anything. And I think here again, everything revolves around building that routine again of eating more. And there I would also incorporate activity. Like some people just move a lot. And I would not recommend like cutting down movement too much, but at some point, like if people do 20k steps and they just have built that habit, I also push that slightly back, or excessive cardio or things like that. And with these people, I am a bit more strict most of the time, because most of the time, like it's not really an emotional eating or something. It's just routine and building that muscle of eating more. So we are just, I would set calorie targets that I feel like they could achieve, not like very, very high. So building that up slowly, and also like having that reinforcement loop of being able to achieve the calories and then increase them step by step. But I would just like, you can eat more. You need to man up, like in some case. You just need to you need to suck it up. I know you think that plate is a lot, but you just need to eat even more. Like it's still not enough.
It's a different type of challenge.
Yes,
it's
and
not
it's
restriction.
also hard. Like it's
exactly.
not. I know for people who might be listening, who struggled with eating too much their whole life, they think like, that's my dream scenario. I would love to eat 3,400 calories, but for these people, it's not, and it's hard. And I think as a coach, it's important to acknowledge that. But in these cases, I'm a bit harsher, and I most of the time just push them to do it because I believe in them that they can, and most of the time they can.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, I found that as well. I think it's, like you say, it's a different type of challenge, and for me as well, when I started my muscle gain journey, I still remember I had to, like sometimes I was sitting in the kitchen and I had to finish this bowl of rice, and I just had to finish it. There was no other choice. What would you say though for nutrition, if we want to talk about nutrition more for this type of person? does it have to be, if they struggle to get the calories in, is it okay to have some like processed foods, or ideally not, of course, but how do you navigate that when they say, oh, like I cannot, like the last 400 calories or 500 calories, it's just tough for me to consume.
Yes, I mean, I am like you are. That I wanted to ask that question to you. So, what your take is on it? But I am honestly big on trying to get it in clean. But like one strategy I like to do, also from a health perspective, that's maybe a good takeaway. I like to do these cheats before training, like eating a muffin or some donuts or something like that before training. Because what's the problem if you're eating like these high caloric, high sugar foods? Most of the time your blood sugar just spikes, and that's just not healthy. But if you're doing it before training, you're training and you will gonna use the glycogen, and I always do it before or after training, and just add some calories there. And I mean, if it needs to be done, I don't think it's that big of a problem, because like you are in a good position with your body, you're not overfed. So also from an evidence perspective, if you're not overfed, it's not even clear that it's such a big problem to eat sugar or to eat processed food at some point. If you're, we could get very nuanced there, like your fat, your lipid levels, etc. But in general, like it's not that big of a problem if you eat some processed food. But I would like keep it as clean as possible.
Yes. I've changed my stance on it a little bit over the years. I think if you look at the bell curve, kind of the midwit kind of meme, I think the first percent is like, oh, you need to eat like 100% healthy, else you will fail and you will be unhealthy, you will get fat, and that's not true. Then in the middle, maybe most people have now realized that okay, you can do if it fits your macros, and your body will change if you eat. Even if you eat, I think there's even studies on that, experiments people have done that you can eat whatever. And still drink Coca-Cola and eat peanut butter cups.
Yes, there was that study from that guy who measured his lipid levels, and then he did like a McDonald's diet or something, but he was in a caloric deficit, and they still improved.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, now I'm also realizing, so what I used to do is I would have gummy bears or things like that to finish my carbs off, and also like before shoots was always a joke, like having some gummy bears. I still do that from time to time. But now, I think that's also what I got from you. I think one of the check-ins we had as well, I think you said, this is funny because sometimes just like one line that makes all the difference. And I think you said something along the lines of, why don't we just fill those calories with healthy foods? Like you will get all those benefits, and why the trade-off? Like that's the trade-off you want to decide, you need to decide to make. And I found when I have, let's say, gummy bears to finish off the day like with calories, my skin kind of breaks out, and I maybe don't feel as good the next day as I could have if I would have had something more whole food based. So my stance has changed quite a bit on that. I would say in the past I would have had some ice cream here and there like more frequently. Now I tend to just, baseline is I don't have it. If I crave it, it's fine. I can have it, no issue. I think that's a good way of thinking about it.
Yes.
And for this type of person, I think pushing in the gym, like you've touched on that, maybe we can quickly touch on that too. I mean, we'll also cover some training later on, but I think especially for a person that wants to gain muscle, like pushing becomes so important. Maybe it's also a skill to learn. How can you learn to push yourself? Like what does it even mean to push yourself on the gym? Because what I found also working with clients in the past is that we always ask for like videos, like form videos as well, and then realizing, oh wow, like they are doing exercises, but they are doing them to such an amount of where they're not pushing themselves. It's too light. It's too fast, the movements, it's too light. And then maybe it's a skill they need to build still. So how do you teach that, or how do you develop that?
Yeah, so I think that's one of the biggest bottlenecks people have. Like if you're not training hard enough, you will not gain muscle, or you will gain muscle to some extent, but you will not maximize the time you spend in the gym. And I mean, that's what we want to do. Probably the people listening, they are busy, they have a life, so we don't want to spend 3 hours in the gym, and we could do the same with like 1 hour if we do it properly. So we need to train hard enough to recruit enough motor units to like create enough stimulus to create adaptation. So that's like, if people take one thing away today, like if you want to gain muscle and have a good physique, you need to be able to create tension on the target muscle and bring it close or to failure. And how do you teach that? I think filming yourself is such a valuable tool, because you have that feedback. Otherwise, like, you have no feedback. You have no feedback loop. You think you're training hard enough, but you are not, and you have no way to find out. Then having someone who checks it, like with you're checking the videos. I do that as well. And one thing I like to do with people who struggle to get the intensity in is just to increase the loading every single week until they really hit failure. Like, I just always tell them, like, add more weight, add more weight, add more weight, because at some point you will just reach failure. And I really let people train to complete failure if they lack the skill. So I just tell them, do the exercise until you are not able to perform another rep. Don't do that like on a barbell back squat with no safeties, but or on a barbell bench press where there is no one around, but like use a leg extension or use a pull down machine, use a safe environment to learn how it feels to be close to failure. And if you want to describe that, how does it feel to be close to failure? It means that the loss or the repetition you are doing is getting slow, which means the technique or the execution stays the same, but your muscles are actually starting to contract slower because they are facing so much resistance. So as an example, you are on a chest press machine and you're trying to push it forward, and it feels like you're pushing through a brick wall, and you're giving everything, and then the muscle stops because it can't perform or can't produce more force. So the resistance is stronger than the force. And that's failure. And we don't really need to train to failure to gain muscle. We saw that in the evidence, but I think that's a slippery slope. I'm not that big of a fan of, like, yes, you can gain muscle with 2 reps in reserve, 3 reps in reserve, etc. But the potential to be further away than 2 or 3 reps in reserve, if you train with reps in reserve, is very hard, because with reps in reserve, the only feedback loop you have is failure. That's very hard to, very easy to say, I hit failure. If you hit 3 reps in reserve, maybe it was 7. And if it was 7, you're not gaining weight. You're not building muscle. Yes.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yes.
I like that. But isn't it dangerous to work so close to failure, like injury issues that could be avoided?
Strength training has one of the lowest risks of injury of all the sports. Like, if you go skiing or if you play soccer or something, that's way more dangerous. So for sure, build your foundation, learn to execute the movement. We will touch on that later, I'm pretty sure. So learn that, get a good trainer, and don't, like, if you have no experience, don't just go into the gym and just push yourself as hard as you can. But if you have that foundation, I think it's really not risky at all. Like,
yes,
if you go out or if you play any other sports, if you go skiing or anything, it's like not even comparable. Like, people are so afraid of training hard in the gym, and they are like going cycling or something, or like, maybe cycling is not a good example, but like skiing or playing soccer or playing contact sports or anything. Like, bro, your risk is way higher there.
I have friends, like a lot of friends who ski, and like everyone always tells me, because I have just recently kind of picked it up last year, and they tell me, yeah, you should get into it. I'm like, okay, cool. And then like, but be careful. Like, I injured myself. I had this problem. I'm like,
yes, I broke my shoulder blade.
Oh, really? Damn.
With skiing.
So, what's your take on that? Like, obviously, you want to enjoy skiing, right? You want to enjoy it, but would you say, like, are you still skiing, or?
I stopped during my bodybuilding career because of risk of injury.
Yeah.
Because it was just not worth it for me. and I never started again since then, but I want to pick it up again.
Cool,
Yes.
cool. All right, let's talk about training then. You already mentioned one of the big keys, and I know it's kind of a big topic. We're gonna have a whole podcast on it. Maybe we should. But in the big 26, for people who want to gain muscle, get stronger in their workouts, what are maybe the keys to that with the current research, with you mentioned with the going to failure or not? What's the best approach to gain muscle, if that's purely the goal of gaining strength and muscle?
Yes. So I don't want to talk about like evidence. I think especially in big 2026, like information is abundant. Like people have a lot of information. So let's talk about like practical application. What should we do in the gym if we want to transfer all that we know into actually getting results? Because like people know a lot of stuff. Everybody's talking about like training splits and optimal exercises and resistance profiles. And I want to bring up one key part there, and that is like movement quality and learning how to move. If you think about the evidence, like what is the most important factor if you want to grow muscle? You need to bring tension on the target muscle and bring it close to failure. So from a first principle perspective, if you're not executing an exercise properly, you're not getting tension on the muscle. So you will not gain muscle at all. So I think learning how to move is such a big unlock. And I recorded 19,000 check-ins in the past 6 years, which is a lot. So I saw a lot of people who came to me like, I have bad genetics there, I can't grow there. And it's always just a skill issue. Or it was in 99% of the case, it was just a skill issue. So learning to bring tension on the muscle. And sometimes these are very small things. And if you start to compensate with your body, it has a bigger effect than most people think. So first one, learning to bring tension on the muscle, because like if you think about it, the leverage, if you execute every movement 20% better, the leverage you have over like the next 2 years is like insane. I would say that's the first one. And the second one is if you're able to create the tension, getting close enough to failure with the good execution, keeping that's the second one. And if you have these two boxed, I'm honest, you could give me every plan out there, and I could make gains on it with one set, with 2 sets, with 3 sets, with all contraction biased, all lengthened biased, all the fancy exercises, or just barbells. Yes, you can get more out of it if you get very nuanced and fancy, but if that base is not covered, you will not grow. And I think most people have that base not in check, and that's why everything else they are doing and thinking about gets irrelevant. That's like the base. That's the secret.
So you don't need to do 5 sets of a certain exercise yet, maybe. Or maybe that's not the prerequisite, because when we talked about my plan as well, and you were looking at some of the plans that I followed in the past, and obviously I'm more intermediate advanced lifter, so you would think that, okay, I need to do 5 sets of bench press to see more growth. And then just recently with you as well, I was doing 2 sets. And my bench went from 80 kilos to 110, which is like a lot, which is insane.
Yes,
30 kilos in like a couple months.
For you, it was the same. It was one of the two things. It was intensity. Because if you did 5 sets, yes, you did a lot of quantity, but a lot of quantity of bad quality doesn't really bring you results. And we just increased training intensity because you also did not have the mental load of, I need to do 5 sets so you conserve your energy for 5 sets. So yes, but I'm also not, to make that clear, I'm not one of the low volume. If we get a bit more advanced, like I'm not, I don't believe in like the low volume side of things, that you just do 1 set of everything or 2 sets of everything. I think that's a pretty flawed way of doing things. But in principle, like we just need to get tension on the muscle, get close to failure, and then do enough of that work to create a stimulus. And that's programming, basically.
Amazing. So why do you think a low volume workout plan is flawed? Obviously, you can go really deep.
Okay.
I personally have experience with that too, and I also felt like maybe my strength was progressing at a pretty solid rate, maybe quicker than with the higher volume programs I was following before. But then, especially when it comes to my look was not as, like, my muscles didn't look as full during the day, and I feel like I didn't have that lean and fit look, was a bit depleted even. So obviously that's a more personal experience, but
Yes.
what do you found? What do you think
Yes.
it's flawed?
Yes. So I think it's just not a very intelligent principle to think every muscle grows on one set or on low volume. I think low volume can work for some people, but it's just not good as a fundamental principle, because to get a muscle to grow, you need to create some amount of stimulus. And maybe one set is enough, but maybe it isn't. And your strength is always your maximum amount of performance minus your minus your fatigue. And yes, when you just do one set, you will always be fully recovered. So your strength increases fast. But to gain muscle, you need to hit a certain volume threshold to create, like, if you think about it again, create a tension, go to failure. So let's say you have like one stimulus point, but maybe you need 3 stimulus points to make your chest adapt. And if you hit 2 stimulus points, yes, maybe you will get stronger, you will maintain your muscle mass, but you will not grow. So you can always think about that model. You need stimulus points to get a muscle to grow. And in my experience, like a side delt, as an example, needs a lot of stimulus points to make it grow. And one stimulus point, no matter how much quality you get into it, will not make your side delt grow. And I think the reason why low volume works for a lot of people, and I think why it worked for some time for you as well, is because if you just have one set, you push it very hard. So you have these 2 variables we talked about in the beginning, you have them boxed off. So with all the other programs, you don't get them boxed off, so you don't grow anyways. So, but with the low volume, you have these 2 points I talked about boxed off. So you grow a bit, but it's limited. If you want to grow maximally, you need to maybe 2 stimulus points for the quads. You need 5 stimulus points for the rear delts, 3 stimulus points for the biceps, which means you need to do 3 sets here, 2 sets here, 1 set here. And over the years, I created these are like bell curves for every single muscle groups. And I created like the bell curves which most people have for every muscle groups. So I don't choose low or high volume, I choose the right volume. And you learn that with building physiques at maximum scale. So if you want to be a bodybuilder, you learn that because you have clients come to you and they tell, I want bigger quads. So you just can't get away with like doing something and having a general program. You need to grow the quads. So you learn that. And that's what I now adapt also in the program is I work with lifestyle people because I have that background and that knowledge. Yes. Was that clear,
Yes.
that model? Okay.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Well, the question, like follow-up question on that, because when someone, like let's say, is in their 30s and 40s and 50s, firstly, would you agree that, you know, as you hit your 30s, I think like 33, like it gets harder to build muscle? And, you know, the follow-up question to that would be, would you, if you're before that age, like really maximize and go all in into building muscle? And then once you are at 33, obviously it's not over, but how does that change the equation with low volume and high volume? Maybe doing, let's say someone is a lifestyle person that maybe working out and getting muscle is on the priority list. Maybe there's work, family, a lot of other things before. Obviously it's also still custom to the person, but would you say it's valuable for someone to go all in into muscle building and really maximize versus having, let's say, shorter sessions, lower volume because of their lifestyle?
I don't see the point of like having a phase where you try to maximize it, where it goes above the capacities you can like long term incorporate into your life. I mean, yes, we see like in early life from like maybe 18 to 33, yes, you have the most amount of potential to gain muscle. And I think it makes I would recommend that to every single person, like to try to maximize your muscle mass there, like really focus on it, because if you have that buffer, it's just easier. But in general, I think strength training should just become a habit that you keep for the rest of your life. And if that is the case, I would not worry about like if you have like 2 or 3 extra kgs of muscle mass. I don't really think that makes that big of a difference. I think it's more important of learning that skill to train, creating that identity, to be the person who trains, to be the fit person, to have the habits in place. And that's the buffer, in my opinion, having the skill and the identity, and then keeping that over all the years.
That's amazing. I was actually looking at that as well, and most people, like in America, for example, like people struggling with sarcopenia or muscle loss as they get older, people like to say, oh, it's because they don't eat enough protein, but most Americans actually get enough protein, but the biggest issue is they don't train, they don't exercise. So building that habit early, I think, is
I mean, imagine how hard it is if you have never done any sports and you're like 50 or 60 and now, and you're maybe overweight, and now you need to start going into the gym with all these fit people and you have never done it in your life. And imagine the other scenario. We are now in our 20s, 30s, and imagine us being 50 and training for our whole life, being fit, and like just going to the gym and knowing exactly what to do, still looking good, feeling good, because you built that foundation over 20 years. And that's a big motivation for me, like that identity, imagining how at 50 I will be in the gym and I know what I'm doing and I'm feeling good, with the delta to the other option of doing nothing. Because yes, it gets harder, but the evidence is still clear. You can even build muscle with 80. But the question is, what is your starting point?
Yes. My oldest client was 75 years old. I'm not sure what your oldest client was.
Yeah, 48. So not that old.
Yeah, he was amazing. Jack, shout out if you're watching this. But yeah, totally agree. I mean, I'm seeing this now. I have friends who are like in the mid 30s, kind of approaching late 30s. And that's still like very young. Like you can still crush your goals, but I see they haven't made it a focus. So now they're unfortunately dealing with injuries because they're trying to catch up. So what happens is they're like, oh, damn, I got to do something. So they get a PT, they lock in, and then they go really hard, and then they injure themselves, unfortunately. And they're trying to catch up what they haven't built, which doesn't mean you can't catch up. But I see it now with people being 35 to 40, like friends of mine, are now realizing, okay, I got some work to do, which is totally cool. But that's, I think, where you start noticing it the first time. I think up until 35 you can maybe coast a bit more, but up at that age, I think it shows up. And also they ski as well, and then the injury risk is obviously higher in ski. But if you have muscle mass, that kind of reduces your risk a little bit, at least because you have a bit of a buffer if you fall. Amazing. So let's talk about nutrition in the big 26. Obviously, big topic. Big topic. But for people that aren't sure how they should eat, obviously we've talked about before, so we can go over it. But what have you found are the biggest game changers in nutrition for someone who wants to lose fat and gain muscle? So I think weight loss, we've seen this before, has lost a little bit of its like appeal because now it's so easy because there is injectables you can use, which I don't support. I don't think it's a good idea, but still people like losing weight maybe has become less of an achievement even to some degree versus building muscle. Obviously it's still great to lose weight, but how would you approach nutrition for gaining muscle, losing fat?
Yes, I mean, nutrition is a hard topic to cover. It feels like talking about religion in 2026. So we will again remain practical, in my opinion. I think from an evidence perspective, we actually don't know that much about nutrition that people claim. Or we don't know as much as people claim. Like, don't be overweight, eat enough proteins, like eat enough fiber, don't eat too many saturated fats, especially from processed food. Like, that's like what we know. And above or beyond that, it's more like religion. So my way of thinking about nutrition is more about how do we make things work in people's lives. So how do we make things work? Like, how do we achieve goals, and not that much like, should we eat keto or should we eat vegan or not vegan or whatever. So maybe some practical advice. I think one of the best strategies or things you can build is a default meal plan for yourself, which means like on a normal Monday, if you are in your normal routine, going to work or being at home, know what you eat and keep that pretty similar. Like, have a similar breakfast or 2-3 options for lunch, 2-3 options for a snack, and an option for dinner, and just repeat that routine somehow closely every single day, because with that you just save so much of your decision fatigue. If you track your macros every single day, like, that's a huge effort. And I use that myself, and I use it with a lot of clients. And for some people it's their full day, for some people it's just the same morning meal or 2 morning meals, and okay, let's just have always a shake in after lunch or something. Like, just build routines, build systems for your day that you can repeat, that just run on autopilot, because nutrition is hard to navigate. And with that, also create your food environment. Have these food sources at home. Don't have food source at home that you don't want to eat. Like, creating, the less friction you have, the easier nutrition will just flow for you. And I think having a default, we have AI now, or we have coaches, we have, just create a good plan for yourself. By the way, don't really trust AI with your food plans, but maybe you can get some inspiration there. I'm not a big fan of training or nutrition plans from AI at all yet. But like, there are ways to do it, or just sit down and think about what could I eat during my day. I think that's such a big unlock for a lot of people.
Yes, I like that a lot. Also, just the mindset switch of realizing that nutrition is usually the bigger driver of results than training. I don't know if you agree, but I found that people put a big emphasis on training. Hey, let me hit the gym, let me drive there for half an hour, let me, take care of everything, which is amazing. Like, you got to train, like we talked about before. But then nutrition is kind of the afterthought. It's the last thing they think about, or I also thought about in the past when I first started. But if you make that maybe your number one priority when it comes to your transformation, and carving the extra time for meal prep or for buying the right foods, then there will be a big unlock, and will also, your efforts in the gym will then also finally show up in your physique. Yes.
I would slightly disagree with that with that statement, but in the same time agree with you. I think nutrition is where most people fail, and they don't pay as much attention to it, but there are actually less leverages to pull to get great results. So if you have no results, the issue is probably nutrition. If you don't have amazing results, but you have results, the issue is most of the time training. So I think training is more nuanced. You can get more out of it if you do it right. Like, if your nutrition just needs to be there. It's the same with like the training, the intensity, that needs to be there. If it's not there, you will not see any results. And that's why I agree with you. It has the bigger leverage, because if you don't do it right, nothing will happen. And if you do nutrition right, you can do a lot of things wrong in training and still get results. But if you have the nutrition in place, training is actually a big leverage to get better. Especially like with bodybuilding clients who like are like machines or robots with nutrition. Like, that's, Just give a plan and they just execute that day by day, eating the same meal every single day without a question.
There's no leverage there.
There is no leverage. Like,
yeah.
you don't have that much to optimize. It's very, very easy. And then a good coach is someone who can make your training great, because that's what creates the stimulus. But I agree totally, since I'm not coaching bodybuilding anymore, it's a good coaching is a coaching who can solve nutrition well, in my opinion. Because training is also very rewarding. Most people like to train.
Yes. Amazing. Yeah, I think I always think about it when I go to the gym and I see personal trainers working with their clients. I recently signed up for a new gym where there's a lot of personal trainers on the floor, and I just see them month by month, and there's really much change going on. So, I mean, some of them just want to have, someone to talk to and work out with, which is fine. But then probably not getting pushed enough, and probably when they get home,
Yes.
That's the issue with PT. But amazing. No, that's super helpful. I love that. And that's incredible. And you always talk about execution, right? Which is the biggest point when it comes to results. So there's so much information, right? You can even ask ChatGPT, although I agree it's not the best information. That I also made some tests with ChatGPT just to see what it spits out, and it's just not ideal. But at the same time, there's so many workout plans and recipes online, and the main bottleneck for people is execution. So actually showing up. So you said you did 19,000 check-ins over the last years with clients, and I've also done thousands for sure. But what have you seen? How do you truly create change in a client? That obviously we've talked about some things already, but big picture, what do you observe? Where does it click for clients and they execute and then get the results?
I think it's all about that reinforcement, that positive reinforcement loop, finding ways to win. And I think that's such a valuable thing about coaching, because if you are very skilled in a topic, I mean, we could go to the gym together 100 times and we would both find a win there 100 times out of 100. Maybe you would like how you look in the mirror. Maybe your one exercise feels great, or you're in a good mood afterwards. But someone who is starting struggles to create any wins because she or he is overwhelmed. She doesn't see results. And I think as a coach, one of the biggest leverage is just to create that positive reinforcement at some level. Like in the beginning, like you see that I always have that section win of the week. And I think that's such a powerful thing. And as soon as I see people positively talking about their own process and seeing themselves grow into that new version of themselves, it clicks. And then it's just then it's an upward spiral. And I think that's the main point. And I think as a coach, it's your responsibility to find those wins some of the time, because yes, maybe for you as a coach it doesn't look huge, but they track their food for the whole week. Yes, their weight might have not dropped, but that's a big win. That's a big change that they are doing. They're growing into that new version. And I think that's also something I always really try to get clear in the beginning, like what is the goal, what's the version we want to create together, and then growing into that version, like having the clear vision, having clarity on the inputs, and then seeing the progression. That's like the fundamental upward spiral, in my opinion.
Amazing. Yes. Results create belief also. They start believing it's possible, yes. Which is just amazing. I found as well, also something I recently read in a book which is Change or Die. It's a book, highly recommended. And he talks about how do you actually create change in someone. And he says that you can use facts and fear, which a lot of people use, like doctors use and practitioners, that, hey, if you don't do this, you're going to die earlier. Like you're going to be unhealthy, you will, have a shorter lifespan, or just facts. Like, hey, this is what is true, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you need to do. But the issue with those things is fear is a very short-term motivator, like it gives a quick spike, but then it drops off quickly in terms of creating change. And then with facts, the issue with that is that the person you're talking to has their own beliefs, has their own kind of synapses in the brain of things they believe, and you just tell them, hey, it's like this, and they cannot relate to that. They don't understand it. So it doesn't create change either. So what he says in the book as well is that it's 3 R's, how to create change. It's relate. It's the first R. So you've got to build a relationship with the person that you're trying to change or that you're talking to, and be able to relate to their situation and to their life. And also goes the other way. Like if they can relate to you in terms of what you've gone through, that also helps get inspiration and hope going. Hope is kind of the first step always. Like they see that you have done it, they can relate to you, maybe because of your background or because of the things you believe in. And he also gives the example in the book that he always struggled to lose his weight and his transformation. And he went to like the best #1 bodybuilder in the world. And he wasn't able to create change for himself because he couldn't relate to him, or he couldn't, relate to that situation. It's kind of the first step. That's why having a coach that kind of relates to you is super helpful and crucial as a first step. The second R is repeat. That's kind of what you've kind of mentioned as well, where having a specific process that you repeat and continue communication around it, like trainings, teachings, and learning as well, will create, like, would be the second step for change for someone. And the third R is reframe. So being able to create new thinking, which I think is really the last step. And I found it, I'm not sure if you have, but with people we work with, they come in for the nutrition and the training, and they say, even on calls, hey, how's your mindset? Like, oh yeah, I'm all good. Like my mindset's great. And then they do the program and they're like, okay, wow, like my mindset was the biggest like problem.
Yes.
And if you can reframe that new thinking, that creates change. So I found it super interesting.
Yes, that's very, very powerful. I really, really agree with that. Totally.
What if you found, like, mindset wise, maybe what are some observations there? Obviously, there's a lot of different topics that we already touched on, but sticking points.
I think one thing I really work with people is around taking responsibility. Like taking responsibility about their current situation, about where they want to go, and also their actions. And I think as a coach, that's one of your key also things you need to do with your clients, like getting them into being responsible. Like if they are talking in their check-ins about their life and why, your job as a coach is to cut through the shit and point your finger exactly where it needs to be pointed, and getting people back into taking ownership, taking responsibility about their situation. I think, like you said, it's about learning, it's about reframes, it's about thinking models. And I think, like you said, most people come for practical advice on training and nutrition, and they leave with saying, you've really changed me as a person. And that's also like the model. I coach very identity based. I always say you need to become the person who deserves it. There is no way around it. Like you can't have a fit body without becoming the person who deserves the fit body. Putting in the work, you can't skip that step. So yes, I think everybody starts from a different position, but everybody needs to end up there.
Yes, incredible. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it. I think, health coaching, fitness coaching starts with physical transformation, but then it evolves into so much of a bigger transformation. I mean, that's for us too, for us both. It started there, and then we're now going into building businesses, and it kind of has a nice translation. Do you see a translation there between your commitment and discipline in terms of the bodybuilding and then applying that for business? Because I've actually seen that not be the case sometimes.
Yes.
And how do you, I mean, you're an outlier there, so how did you take that discipline? And also for people who are like have good careers and have a business, but struggle to create the same discipline.
I think it doesn't need to be that way. I think these are completely different muscles you need to build. But I think it can help you build identity to believe that you are the person who is disciplined. If you know what I mean. But I don't think running a marathon, I don't think like doing a bodybuilding prep will help you like do that hard conversation with your wife or your girlfriend, or the hard conversation in your business, or being disciplined there, doing hard stuff in other areas. It can be the complete opposite. I think even living your discipline in different areas can also be an outlet if you're in some areas maybe not as disciplined. I think that is even possible. But if you create an identity, I think it sticks. And that's what I did. I just identified myself as being disciplined, as doing things I want to do and sticking to it. But like in other topics, because I would not say that hard things are just like doing sports or waking up early and doing business, but being courageous and having the hard conversation with a friend or with a business partner or your wife, that's hard things as well. And I don't think that this translates very well to it.
Yeah.
Yes. Or it doesn't need to translate.
Yeah, and it's not something you can show on social media that you've had a hard conversation with
yes,
your,
yes.
with
I
your
think
partner.
you get you get a lot more praise for running a marathon than having the hard conversation with your wife.
But don't you think some people run marathons to avoid
yes, I think
hard
so.
conversations?
yes.
It's another book I read, which is Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life, which is very amazing like mindset book as well, and it's called Experiential Avoidance. It's kind of the principle behind it. So we like, if we have certain struggles in our life, maybe depression or certain situations, then actually avoiding those situations and doing something different by like coping with different things is creating more issues, right? So it's kind of reinforcing the issue. And sometimes obviously lifting is a great way to deal with like with struggles.
Yes, I mean that's also like a funny thing I observed. I coach mostly entrepreneurs now and very ambitious people, and I was into bodybuilding, and I was with the people who are at the top of the world, and I know a lot of them personally. And to be honest, there's for real some like personality structures that's come with it, and I think it's not a coincidence that these people build big businesses, or it doesn't need to be that way, but there's a big correlation, or they did sports. It's always the same, like a lot of time the same personality types.
Yes. Yeah, amazing.
Maybe it is a cope.
Yeah,
yes.
possibly.
But by the way, do you have a book list? Because you gave me a few amazing recommendations already.
I have a bunch of books I recently dug into. I have at the end of last year, I started reading, like I was trying to read like 4 to 6 books a month, so 1 book a week.
I thought I'm good with 1 book a month. So
no, I love Audible. So Audible is for me is a game changer for sure. But I know I need to know so much more. I feel like I don't know anything, so I want to know so much more. And I've dug a lot more into mindset books, spiritual books. Always a combination of right side of the brain, left side of the brain reading. So on one side the execution books that give you the business advice, like the step by step, and like the motivation, like you gotta make money and be successful. But then also the spiritual books of, hey, like you gotta let go and you gotta be present and those things. So yeah, I can put the list in the show notes or something. Definitely some good ones that I've recently read. But yeah, that's awesome. Okay, amazing. So I think a few directions we can go here, but I do like more of the critical philosophical questions if you're ready for that type of thing.
I'm ready.
Because I think I love podcasts. I listen to them a lot, and the one thing I find interesting with podcasts, with some of them more, some less, but a lot of them just have this stance of, oh, everything's perfect, and like the topic at hand is just like solved. Like it's just like, oh, that's how it is. But what about the critical parts of the equation, right? So for example, let's say someone gets to 10% body fat and is really lean. Like, is it actually possible to maintain it or need it in the first place in terms of having, let's say, the habits, obviously we talked about, are super important and healthy, but then do you need to be at 10% body fat to really like be at your peak life?
I think that's a good question to ask, because that's like the mission I'm on at the moment. And first of all, I don't think it's needed at all. And I don't think it's beneficial to be at 10% body fat. The question for me is, can you get away with it? And I think that's clear. You don't need to be there. You probably shouldn't be there, or it's on the edge. But the question I ask myself is, can you get away with it? And I can answer this question. I can, but I think most people can't. Because like I do that for 12 years. I've been very, very lean. I have like very strong routines, very strong mental models, and I have a pretty low set point or settling point. So I think first of all, where you feel comfortable will be different from person to person. So it's not, you cannot generalize that. But for me, it is possible to stay there or in that range for a pretty long time, and I'm feeling amazing. But I am probably between 10 to 12%, and I'm hovering around that, and I'm feeling better than ever before. And would I maybe feel even better if I would be at 12? Probably. But for me, again, the reinforcement loop of being a bit leaner just gives me back a lot, and I like that. And I also like it that I'm a bit more on the extremer side of things, which just gives me a good feeling. So it is probably possible to maintain it if you like have a low settling point, if you have a lot of experience and you have a good body or a very healthy body. So I think it is possible to maintain it. And I don't really pay a price for it at the moment. So I don't have like, I'm not very hungry at all. I eat pretty much what I would like to eat. I eat around 3,200 calories. I have normal libido levels. Maybe they could be higher, I don't know. But I have good libido levels. I am flexible. So like on Monday, it was Germany was playing the World Cup. And I went and eat like a schnitzel. I am social. On Saturday I was yes on Saturday I was out on a date. We had a few drinks. Like that is possible with the lifestyle I live at the moment. On the other side, I'm doing 2 runs, 4 gym sessions and 2 additional cardio sessions a week to maintain it. But that's the lifestyle I choose and I enjoy. So for me, I can really confidently say that nothing really is a mental load or a sacrifice at the moment to maintain that body fat level for me. But keep in mind, there is 12 years of experience behind it and being even a lot leaner. So
that's also a good argument to build muscle mass, because once you've built a certain amount, then your baseline is just a lot higher, and then you can allow yourself to more easily maintain a lower body fat percentage.
Yes. I mean, you're at 5% body fat at the moment.
Yes.
So, what
officially,
are you?
I'm stepping on stage this week after my InBody.
So what is your take on maintaining 10%? Because I would like imagine you're actually around 10% body fat at the moment.
Nice. Thanks for saying that, because I got roasted on social media that I'm not 10%.
Yes, maybe 12, but
damn. I think this is the first time I'm realizing also with your help and inputs and that I think it is doable with experience. So again, I've also been lifting for 8 years or something. So I think maybe you don't need 8 years, but you do need some years to build your metabolism, build your muscle. But yeah, I can eat 3,350 now. Yes. So I beat you on the calorie amount, but I'm also taller. So, but your FFME is like 25.5, you said, right?
Yes.
I checked mine is like 22 or something. I'm like, am I skinny or what's going on? Okay, great. I love that. I do think it is doable, but
Okay. But do you feel like it's doable without having big sacrifices for yourself?
yeah, it depends what big sacrifices are. But I think, yeah, with the calories I have at the moment and the lifestyle, I think it's doable. Like working
Yes.
a lot, but still working out 3-4 times a week, and then just eating normal is fine.
The only thing that you need to stay on the money. Like you can never let that discipline muscle really go. Like if you have like a big cheat day, or like you go out and you enjoy yourself too much, you will just jump 1 kg and then
That's the biggest danger. Yeah, the eating out. That for sure is something that maybe it's another skill to learn. But my friends that travel a lot and are constantly on the go, they just never have like a lean physique. It's just not possible.
But I think that's probably more like sleep and stress related.
Yeah, it's many different things. Probably, yeah. So isn't there like a diminishing return to having too much muscle mass? Wouldn't you say that maybe you not as agile, or maybe doing things takes a lot more effort, or even the argument which I've thought about a lot. I'm curious what you think. Like being able to eat more is nice. Like having a bigger calorie like surplus, or not surplus, like a maintenance calories. But it's also kind of work as well, right? To get all nutrients in every single day, and it can be seen maybe as a crutch sometimes. And I had this like inside joke with my ex-girlfriend. It's like feeding the machine. It's like, okay, like how do we feed the machine? And if it doesn't get fed, then it's like your body reacts, right? So how do you think about that? And like, is it like diminishing return?
I mean, in my opinion, the food environment we have in big 2026, I see that as a big advantage, because like the downsides, I would always take higher calories than lower calories. If like your base metabolism or your maintenance calories is at 2,500, I think yes, it is a bit easier maybe on a Monday to eat your calories if you're very busy. But I mean, it's just 2 meals of eating 500 calories more. So I don't see that as that big of a problem. But if you're then on Wednesday going out to eat a pizza and you have 2,500 calories available, you're eating 2 meals of 500 calories total before the pizza. And if you're not doing that, you're just gaining body fat, and you will end up being overfed. And I think I see I see the costs, but I see more the ratio, the cost to benefit ratio is, in my opinion, it's higher, because you can actually, like, people think I have a fit lifestyle, I need to be very restrictive. You should be more restrictive if you're overweight and if you're very fit. I can go out and eat something, or eat a donut or a cookie, and it just, my body regulates the blood sugar perfectly. Like I don't have a calorie surplus, so I can enjoy myself. So I see the point, but I take feeding the machine.
Good.
But otherwise, like agile, yes. I think if you're not natural anymore, there is for sure a big disadvantage. And I honestly downsized my legs because I found them pretty disturbing from an aesthetic perspective, but also from just a day-to-day life perspective, because they were just so big.
Wait, so you're skipping leg day, or?
I'm skipping leg days since 8 months. Or I was just doing it irregularly because my legs were so big. And now I trained them regularly for 5 weeks again, and I started skipping them again more and more because they just grew back so fast.
See, that's what I'm on.
Yes,
years already.
Yes, because you were just afraid to build too big legs. Yes, but I mean, that's the dream scenario, right? I can just, with a good feeling, skip my leg days. And now my pants are fitting better. I don't look as feminine as I did before, because I looked like a truck in my pants.
Nice. Okay, cool. And then when it comes to tracking and weighing your food, which is definitely necessary if you want to create a change, I definitely agree. does it create a healthier relationship to food or unhealthier relationship to food? Because then maybe you've seen this before, heard this before, people say, I cannot stop thinking about my macros and my protein. And how do you think about that? Like also long term, what's the vision there?
Yes, I mean, for sure there is a risk. Like if your relationship with food is already damaged and you start tracking your calories, you get more and more obsessed with the numbers, and you reflect on that and you see that this is happening, I would be a bit more careful there. But like if you have a good relationship with food, I see tracking as a documentation of what you're doing. So I don't see that big of a problem for most people. Like I said, if you have a bad relationship with your body or with food, I would be more careful. Especially in my experience, women have more struggles with it than men with tracking calories. And I would take that seriously and I would be careful there. But in general, I think it's such a powerful tool to do it for some times or for some time. My vision is to live without tracking at some point. I also do that in my normal environment. When I was back in Switzerland, I was not tracking my calories. I was eating in my default plan and then just managing the rest intuitively. And I also had a lot of trips where I just ate intuitively, learned my hunger cues and hunger signals. And I think it works totally fine. And I think tracking calories, you can just incorporate that for a time interval to see what you're doing. I always say document, adapt, then standardize, and then go away again. So like that's the goal. And I mean, tracking is a good tool to keep yourself accountable. And if you feel like now my accountability just went away, you can just incorporate it again. But I think the long-term vision for myself is to rely completely on my body feeling and do as much movement and sport that I can maintain a good amount of calories which I like to eat, and as a consequence have the body that I desire. At the moment, as an example, I'm in Berlin. I'm here since 4 weeks. I have a totally new routine. I'm eating out a lot, and then it gets very hard. So I'm just tracking my macros just as like a correction tool to see what I'm actually doing, because I can't rely on my intuition completely because it's such a different environment. Yes. But my vision is not to track calories for the rest of my life, to be honest.
Nice.
What about you?
Yeah, same. I think it is a journey. Like it is a journey from tracking your food to then, maybe having a routine of meals you do make and then not weighing them anymore, not tracking them anymore. And then a step after that could be intuitive eating. We've done it with a few clients, but it's definitely a journey. So you cannot do it from day one or even after 6 months or 12 months, sometimes like 15, 18 months in. If someone starts from zero, you can start looking at it. But then I think the new thing, the thing that makes it really hard is the travel, is the being on the go. I think that is kind of the end level. If you can reach that, if you can travel and not track and still maintain your leanness, that's I think kind of the end level. And I've done a lot of traveling between 2022 to 2024, and I must say I did lose some size and I did lose some definition. I was still looking good, so I was still happy, but I think I definitely left some potential on the table because of all the restaurant food. And there's different strategies than once you are, but usually people are not constantly on the go. That's like
yes,
it's not something that people usually do. So,
and I mean, it's big 2026. You also don't need to like bring your scale everywhere to track your food, right? I mean, there is AI.
Exactly.
I think in your coaching app you have that available, in mine as well. You just like do a picture and it will evolve. Like in big 2027 we will probably like have perfect tracking without weighing your food at all.
Exactly.
So
that's super helpful.
And I think a mindset blocker that a lot of people have, they just put like tracking calories on that pedestal of like that's the hardest thing in the world. It's actually not. It's not that big of a thing to do.
And I think also when it comes to the tracking and the weighing, I found another kind of vocabulary for that, and it's called orthorexia nervosa. I don't know if you've heard of that before. It's it means it's an obsession with healthy eating that's associated with restrictive behaviors. So attempting to optimize your health through this obsession will lead to like malnourishment, loss of relationships, and like a poorer quality of life. That's kind of an interesting take there. So just kind of wrap that up, maybe. Do you think, I mean, you said it before, like the cost versus the outcome, you say is higher versus the loss of quality of life that you have if you go on a healthy journey, because you will miss out on restaurant meals with your friends. You will miss out on, drinking on the weekend, or you will miss out on other things. That loss of quality of life, you think is worth it for the outcome?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, because I think if you do it the right way, you need to go through that journey and, like I said, get your body into a healthy state, also your mind into a healthy state, and prove to yourself that you don't need all of that. And you will see probably that you don't miss a lot of these things, but the things you do miss, I think there is a way to incorporate that into your lifestyle in most cases. And depending on your preferences, you can then just build the lifestyle you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you understand the first principles, there is more room to play here than most people think. So
yes, I love that. And I think the trend though has been a different spot, right? The trend in health and wellness,
yes,
has been quite the opposite.
Yes.
So what's your take on obsession with sleep score, obsession with biohacking, obsession with red light therapy, obsession with reducing, heavy metal compounds and those things? Like, how far do you think is too far, or what is your thoughts on the current state of health and wellness?
Yes, I see that trend as well. And I mean, I buy into it to some point as well. I just always look at how big is the leverage and how big is the cost. Like, I have a very good sleep routine on my normal days. I'm just not taking it to black and white all the time. Like, I try to optimize my normal day as much as I can. Like, my routine is optimized. I take all the supplements. I have my sleeping mask. I have my nose strips. I do all these things. I eat extremely healthy. But man, if I go on something cool on a weekend, or I meet my family, I'm not the guy who has a UAV umbrella with him because he's afraid of sunlight, and just says to everybody, I'm leaving at 6 p.m. because he needs to go to bed. Because I see, or my goal for myself and my clients is to create a plus into life with that journey. And I think if you start to look at your life with you have just one lens, and that's health and wellness, you're probably not gonna have the most fulfilled life. So I try to incorporate all the lenses, mix them, and make smart trade-offs. And that's why I'm so big on education, because I want to understand it. I want to understand the leverages, and then do the interventions I think are valuable and actually have leverage. And like I said, I'm totally aware that maybe having 2 drinks on Saturday and going to bed at 2 a.m. was not the best idea for my health.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could do the choice again, I would do it again that way. That's my take, because if I want to create a plus into my life with all of that, that's a trade-off I am willing to take. And yes, maybe I will live a year less because I did all of that in that scope. But like in every area, the Pareto principle probably applies. That means with 20%, you would probably get already 80% of the output. And I mean, we are optimizing to 98%. And probably these 2% will not have the biggest effect. And if I see something in the evidence that I think is very valuable, I will incorporate it. Yes.
Amazing.
What's your take on that?
My take on that is kind of what I got from the 5 Types of Wealth book, which not a book I recommend. And there's obviously different types of wealth. Like, one part is health, financial, time freedom. I forgot the other two, but career I think is another one, and social life. I think those are the 5. Don't quote me on that. But the main thing he talks about is that to master all 5, you need some focus time in a certain area or a few key areas that you focus on. But once you've achieved your goals there, then it's okay to switch into maintenance and then be able to focus on other areas. So let's say, talking about physique and health, maybe you have that goal and you get there, and then you got to learn how to maintain it. And then you can shift some of that focus over to, now I want to be more social, I want to make more friends, I want to meet my partner, or I want to double down in business. And then this kind of runs of an autopilot, and you can pull some time and focus away from it. And that's how I like to think about it as well.
Yes, 100%. Yes, I think that's exactly what I'm talking about. If you have achieved that maintenance should then create just a plus into your life.
Amazing. So let's finish with some overrated, underrated.
Okay, I'm excited. I haven't seen them, so let's go.
Quick fire. You can explain for a bit, if you want. So first one, Berlin. Overrated, underrated.
Underrated.
How come?
I come from Switzerland. Berlin has a very bad reputation in Switzerland, and I really, really like it here, to be honest. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, I'm born and raised in Berlin, but I live in Switzerland now.
Yes, so. It's funny. And I'm born and raised in Switzerland, and I live in Berlin now. But I'm coming back probably.
Are you coming back probably?
We will see.
Okay, you don't want to leak it. Okay. Switzerland, overrated, underrated?
Underrated. Can't be. It's very high rated, but I think Switzerland is the most successful and best country in the world, in my opinion. And I will settle in Switzerland. That's completely clear for me. But
nice.
It's a bit slower. It's a bit slower, and I think for me, I'm 25. I need some more energy, and I need to see the world, and I need some more, energy, more ambitious people around me. Switzerland is a bit slower, a bit more like the old money feeling, very peaceful. And it's time to, at some point, it's for sure time to settle there.
Nice. I love it as well, honestly. Incredible. Brian Johnson, overrated, underrated?
Properly rated.
Okay.
Can I say that?
Yeah, I mean...
I think he's very hyped, but I think we need people who are very extreme to show what's possible and bring awareness to topics. I would not take him as an example, but I think it's good that he shows so many people the importance of health and longevity.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I think he's creating so much awareness and attention around the topic.
And he's very good at it.
Yes.
Very, very good at it.
So yeah, it's awesome. Next one. Reta and tirzepatide and other tides. Overrated, underrated. I mean, obviously they have different functions. You can break it down if you want to, but what's your take on that?
So I think, can we say the words?
I don't think you can say it. Like on Instagram, you can't actually.
Okay, so Reta, I think it's overrated, and the other two I think are properly rated.
Okay.
In my opinion. For people who really, really struggle with losing weight, because we talked about like mindset, emotional eating, etc. But I believe there are some genetic factors that just make it very hard for people to stay lean and stay at their desired body weight. Like they are dieting again, and they are able to do it, but then they achieve the body they want, and it's probably not even that of an extreme goal, and they can just not maintain it, and it creates pain for them that they are not where they want to be. And I think for some of these people, it can be a very valuable medication. Also, I think it's very valuable for people who would never lose weight. I know it's a shortcut, but I mean, better have the side effects of the GLPs than be fat. I think it is highly overrated for gem pop and fitness people. I would not fuck with Reta at all because I had some clients who tried it, and there are more side effects that people talk about. Side effects of your resting heart rate, of your HR, like just side effects on your general body, and a lot of people just look like shit who take Reta. They are like soft, inflamed, because you cannot out inject bad routines and bad fundamentals. And it just ends up people, bad fundamentals, no routines, but they're still able to stick to a low-calorie diet, so they look just inflamed and somewhat lean and small and soft.
Love it. Well, I have experience with that. Last year, I also shared that on a podcast. I tried GLP-1s like last year in summer when I was struggling so much. So I wanted to personally test like a microdose. I did a microdose. And what I experienced was obviously no hunger. So even though I was, training still a lot, I was not hungry. So I was eating it was hard to eat like 1,600 to 2,000 calories. And I was on a microdose. That's the first thing. Second thing was I had this flat and kind of squishy look, although I was still lifting the same like weights, and it just didn't seem to engage my muscle, or my muscle just didn't look full. And then anhedonia is what people talk about a lot. So I had no desire for much else. Like on the one side, I had no desire to be on social media and scroll, which is nice. On the other side, I had no desire to engage in life to some degree. So definitely some side effects. And also for me, also hair. Hair definitely was like lighter, like I lost volume in my hair for sure as well, which is like, that's the worst thing that can happen.
That's so terrible, yes.
Okay, cool. So Whoop, overrated, underrated?
Underrated. I'm a Whoop glazer.
Unbelievable.
I like the software, I like the vision, and I like the gamification. I know it's expensive, but I'm just a big fan of Whoop. I like the customer experience. If you have Whoop, it's not like from the data you receive, it will not change your life, but I saw that it really helps people to keep them accountable.
It will change your life when you can post a readiness score on social media.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I like that. Skipping leg day, overrated, underrated?
Underrated. If you have big legs, underrated. No, overrated. For you, it's overrated.
Oh my God. I've been preaching this for years. No, that's cool. Ashwagandha.
Overrated. I think, first of all, for a lot of people, the effect is pretty small. I know the evidence, but like we said here, we are not only talking about the evidence. I've coached so many people, and I gave a lot of people ashwagandha. I did not really see any effects on the blood work or how they feel. And for some people, I would really, if you take ashwagandha, cycle it off for some time. I know also this evidence is busted. It's not the case from an evidence perspective, but it just inhibits you from getting into a sympathetic state that can also inhibit you from being very excited about things. So if you do take it for a long time and you feel a bit flat, just try to remove it for some time. I know the evidence is busted from it, but I had a lot of clients who felt better when they took it out. So that's just my experience with it. So I don't really believe in ashwagandha that much.
Cool. This is for you. Question. Okay, blue light blockers, glasses, overrated, underrated?
I don't know how they are positioned in the space at the moment, but I think they are properly rated. I have them, I use them, and I think they have an effect.
Nice.
Because like shutting off your screens 2 hours before bed, like we live in big 2026, and it's just not that realistic for most people.
Exactly.
And I think it's a good middle ground.
What I've done is I've done I've installed like lamps that just make the whole apartment red.
Yes,
Like
yes.
that is one of my favorite. Obviously, it doesn't protect from the screen, but just in general, it creates a nice environment. Okay, fiber, overrated, underrated?
Properly rated.
Properly rated. And then running.
Overrated.
Why? Haven't you picked it up recently?
Yes, I'm running and I love it, but I think too many people now, I don't know how it is in the US. I know you have a lot of US people also listening, but in like Europe, especially in DACH, running has like the biggest hype ever. And like running will not get you a good physique. Running is not that cool on your joints. Running is a pretty high stress on your body. So it's cool, I like it. But like as a health tool, I think it's overrated, and it's hardly overrated because people are not training hard anymore. They're not doing zone 2 cardio anymore. They're just running all the time. And running is not that cool for a health perspective. It's very cool to do it. I like it. That's why I do it. And I'm like progressing it slowly and doing it properly. I now have also a running coach who helps me figure that out. Yes, but I think it's overrated.
Yeah, I mean, for you, props to you with your physique. Like approaching running is definitely a whole different beast.
Yes, but I talked with my running coach as well. He said like people who are very muscular, it's not that big of a problem with passive structures or anything because you have so much muscle mass and your bone density is so good.
Amazing. I like that. So to wrap up the episode, you talk a lot about recently becoming a life athlete. What does that mean for you, and also what do you do, and where can people find you?
Yes, so becoming a life athlete is the identity I picked up for myself. I'm not training for a show anymore. I'm not training for a marathon. I'm training for life. And I set out 3 main goals for myself, which is I want to look like an athlete, so I want to look outstanding. I want to feel limitless or feel like an athlete, so I want to perform in my day-to-day life, have high energy, feel vibrant, have a great lifestyle. And then I want to set myself up for the next decades, like age like an athlete. Because if you look at longevity, athletes age pretty well. So I want to age like an athlete and set the foundations there with my fitness, my muscle mass, my metabolic health. So that's the vision, and that's what I help people achieve as well. That's what I do for a living. I help people become life athletes, and especially people in their 30s. They have a busy life. They don't want to make sport their main focus in their life. They don't want to be a bodybuilder, but they want to train for life. They want to have that as an important part, but not everything. And that's what I help people do with the things I learned over the 12 years, the world championship titles, the 19,000 check-ins I did with bodybuilding. And now I just use these principles and dose them right for people. So people who don't have that much time, we make sure we leverage that time correctly with good inputs.
Amazing. Yeah, I can attest to that. I mean, I've worked with you and really grateful. I still work with you, and I'm really grateful for your coaching. It's been life-changing, not gonna lie. And I have a lot of things going on and try to navigate business, social life, travel, and still being top physique with the right inputs. It's not easy, but you've made it possible. So thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. I put some pictures here as well on what changed.
Thanks, man. Thanks for your trust.
It's been incredible. So where can people find you if they want to work with you, or in general, where can they find you? I'll put it in the show notes. But
yes, I mean, Instagram is the easiest way to find me. Just Ramon _Limacher. You will probably put it into the description. That's the easiest way. 100%.
Nice. Amazing. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yes,
sharing your wisdom.
It was a pleasure here talking to you. I learned a lot as well, so it was amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening or watching, depending on where you consume it. If you liked it, then please, subscribe to the show or to the YouTube channel. Leave a comment if you have any questions or things you want me to cover in the future, so I can get more amazing guests on the show. And the idea behind this podcast is that each show with a guest becomes almost a training, a masterclass that you can take home and apply and see the results. So try it out, try the principles, and hopefully you see the results. If you need help with execution, you know where to find us. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.